in cyber. And cyber is a real domain of power. In cyber is a real domain of power.
Intended to be kept away from the public.
Right.
Of the people who are actually making the decisions that shape the world that we live in. And we have one of those stories at Dropsite News yesterday. We can put this element of the screen. Recommend everybody go read this if you can. Headline makes you sound like a crazy person. Jeffrey Epstein pursued Swiss Rothschild Bank to finance Israeli cyber weapons empire. And yeah, let's pause for a second. I was like, as we're doing the reporting, you report what you have, not what you want. And as we're going through it, I'm like, could he have used a bank other than Rothschild?
Any other bank.
Like, it's like he's trying to make us look like lunatics.
Yeah.
The Rothschilds were, for centuries, major financiers in Europe. They really faded over the last, decades and century plus, but are still a dominant financial institution in France and in Switzerland, in particular. And particularly in Switzerland, they are among a bunch of banks that were, in fact, under investigation by the Department of Justice for their willingness to engage in the kind of secrecy that is very helpful to people who are moving drugs, moving weapons, working with sanctioned individuals to finance projects. And Epstein worked with all of those kinds of people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Slightly different style. So you've seen some of the Epstein files come out. Very interesting. Thank you for the link on my Substack. But could you be a little bit more specific next time and not speaking Spanish? But it's a great little video. It's not getting a lot of push, although I can't view everything. It's about the Rothschild, Edmund de Rothschild, and the daughter linked with Jeffrey Epstein, saying, Epstein, they want to fund these cyber Israeli weapons via Ehud Barak. Now, all very interesting. There's nothing I can do to convince you that none of this is good news. What do I mean? But Brendon, you've been pushing this for 15 years. Aren't you happy? You don't get it. You don't get it. I don't know what to say. It's like I'm stopping. It's Brendon. His voice is saying, Brendon. And he asked for his opinion.
Coffee mugs for sale. Don't listen to this guy. No one can work with him. Coffee mugs. Just because you went to jail, but he's out broken, thinks he's zero. Coffee mugs. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Go away.
We're all going to die.
Rack
Don't
off.
forget to like and subscribe.
You and your mates.
We got drones to buy.
Okay, that was my alter ego, my twin brother. Look, I don't know what to say. It's so big. All you have to do is go to my YouTube. I still have Patreon. It's still behind a paywall. I'm not going to get rid of it yet. But here's the link, and it's down below to the 8 videos in a playlist. And in that playlist, you will see videos that are as far back as February 2018. February 2018, where I explain how big this is. They literally, Israel and the City of London, right, literally core code Microsoft. All Microsoft products core coded, not just in Israel, all right? Because it's not just that they're in Israel and Cadence Design. Like, you can't build a chip without Cadence Design software, all right? You don't understand how big this is. That the applied materials, they've all got these big R&D centers in Israel, including Intel. Now, a lot has changed in the years because of the work of a few people. Certainly nothing to do with Whitney Webb, nothing to do with a plethora of these internet heroes who were vigorously cross-promoted while they gave you literally 30 or 20% or less of the full story, particularly Talpiot and Unit 8200. I mean, we started that whole thing, got no cross-promotion, got nothing but harassment and misery and lies, because that is the system at work. Yet I've been approached by Colonel Andrew Kernan, General Milley's JAG, his head lawyer, who is now currently the head lawyer for the comptroller, that is the budget controller for the $1 trillion Pentagon. I was having relations with his sister, okay? Colonel James McMahon, Special Air Service, retired, high-level intel in Australia. They're all Jesuits. Him, Minister Joe Francis, Royal Australian Navy, Jesuit. All best friends with our former Jesuit Prime Minister, Tony Abbott. Best friends with the Windsors and good old Rupert Murdoch and Heinz Kissinger. I was literally invited out with those people. Literally back in Australia, jailed for 3 years. You know the story. On the record in police interviews in 2014, arrested by the police, giving the whole game away.
Yeshiva military academies, there's things called yeshiva military academies where ultra-Orthodox Jews go to train. They receive instruction, the nuts, the stuff they read out of the Babylonian Talmud, the Shulchan Aruch. These are books of the Mishnah or oral law. They are lunacy. They make Adolf Hitler and National Socialist ideology look tame. They're told to slaughter the Palestinians as they're animals, they have no soul. Anyway, I could go on and on and on. These are the yeshiva military academies. And these are very dangerous because you have Australians. It's a bit like ISIS. Everyone would be very worried if, as Australian Muslims are going to train with ISIS. Well, we have a very big problem with Australian Jews going to train in the yeshiva military academies where they receive training in special forces training. They get their combat pilots from there. They want the best of the best from there. The most committed ideologues to the Israeli state. Explosives training, firearms training, so on. Electronic data intercept, specialists in hardware, software development, all sorts of stuff. They then go from there and guess what? They come back to Australia and then they get into a private and military institutions.
I understand all that, and that's very well explained on your blog.
You've never heard of me. Get zero cross-promotion. The incredible work of Mary Silva, highest levels into the Republican Party in Seattle, Washington.
Now, we have amazing people like Congressional candidate Mary Silva attending top Republican get-togethers, warning of Israeli espionage against the United States.
So my name is Mary Silva, and I am an audiologist. I am a mother. I am a Republican, and a real one or a fake one? A real one. I'm not just talking out my behind, you guys. I have done a lot of research on this. But why was former Intel CEO Brian Krzanich stating Intel considers it itself an Israeli company as much as an American company? Why did the same CEO state that their latest R&D would be centered in Jerusalem? This was in 2017, just before massive backdoors, they called them security flaws, in Spectre and Meltdown were discovered and made public.
Trust me, you've never heard of Mary Silva. We can't get her an interview anywhere. Now, you can hear that amazing 8-minute speech here. None of the online social media stars concerned about America appear very keen to promote her or interview her.
Lee Levino deleted off the internet the incredible work ambushing Charlie Kirk on Israeli military intelligence penetration, Russian GRU penetration of Israel.
KGB infiltrated Israel at the highest levels.
Oh, wow.
And all of our tech companies are being infiltrated by Israeli military intelligence. So check this out.
I love Israel.
Because this is, I know, I love them as well. So we need to check this information out because we have Netanyahu, he's doing deals with China and Russia in broad daylight, giving them weapons. I mean,
I don't mind Russia. The China one bothers me.
Yeah, that's a serious problem.
Steve Bannon knew nothing until Lee Levino ambushed him.
Hey Steve, real quick, I want to get this information. Russian penetration of Israel, cyber attacks on the rise because of Russia and Israel. So I want you to look into that for me, please. Awesome, man, appreciate it.
Israel is actually an ally, okay? But if you're going to be an ally, it's two-way. You got to be an ally. Netanyahu has been rubbing up on China.
Wasn't any work from Whitney Webb.
Congressman, I just had some information for you. It's some serious information about Israel working with China and all high technology being exported out of the country.
And then let him know Corey Mills, and they deleted his whole channel. While they're all cross-promoting a little gross, disgusting, trolling, homosexual Catholic conservative. A Marano Jew, Shabbat Goy, with a Marano Jew Mexican father, Nick Fuentes. What more do we need from the Murdoch crew of Tucker Carlson? A defender of wars that killed millions for 20 plus years with that whore, Megyn Kelly, and that psychopath, Candace Owens, for crying out loud. Frauds, one and all. They can't even tell you who did 9/11. There might have been some dancing Israelis. It's very complicated. The CIA did it. Yeah, John Brennan, who was Condi Rice and George W. Bush. And yeah, but the foreign policy was done with a Jewish philosophy. It wasn't a Heinz Kissinger. See, this is the story. So I can't get happy when I see, and you can see the link. It's a nice bit of news, but I can't get excited about it. We're falling behind and behind. These are delaying actions because they're not just over there in Israel. They're deep and penetrated deeply within the United States core critical infrastructure. And I can give you one example. There's voiceovers coming. Rad Group, Zohar Zisapel, Yehud Zisapel, they recently died. 24 sub-companies. And yet Rad Group do all the wireless Internet of Things and backups to the oil and gas industry, all the pipelines, oil and gas. Oh, that might be interesting. Water pipelines, water purification, all Rad Group. Electrical power grids, all Rad Group. Automatic teller machines for banks in general, telecoms all over the world, router security it's not just in America, it's freaking worldwide. Whitney Webb, when we made the joke, Whitney Webb will not mention Zohar Zisapel and Rad Group. Do you understand that all of you, I don't just mean all of your critical infrastructure, I mean all. Is all Israeli companies or deeply embedded Talpiot program, Israeli 8200 staff, deep within the system. And try and get Whitney. Oh, election guard. Oh, maybe there's Unit 8200 Facebook employees. Oh, no. Oh. Did one excellent interview with Rick Wiles on True News on Talpiot. Took all the information myself and Diane back in 2018 did. 2.5 years later, she does one interview. Next minute, no more about it. Rick Wiles disappears the video, and Rick Wiles is taking trips to Davos with a 5-man crew costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he gets a $250,000 new studio, and Edward Saltz is asking questions of the President of the United States.
Today you met with Bibi Netanyahu from Israel, and you brought up actually that you support a two-state solution for the Palestinian-Israeli crisis there. Can you give us any more preview of what this great deal, the peace deal?
Well, I'd love to be able to make a deal with the Israelis and the Palestinians. You know, my whole life I was told that's the toughest deal.
Now, secondly, Edward Zoll is no longer employed here. I never discuss personnel matters on air, but I must say something since Edward was a public face of True News for 5 years. There were a number of issues that led to us parting ways today, but the deciding factor was the controversy involving Mr. Mike Lindell's cyber symposium. As you recall, Mr. Lindell's security team told him that True News brought into his event a member of Antifa. And we were totally shocked and puzzled by the accusation. Mr. Lindell and I held several long telephone conversations, and we shared and compared documents. What we discovered was that Edward Zoll brought along with him a man and his girlfriend. The man had applied earlier for media credentials to the cyber symposium, claiming to be under contract with True News, which was a blatant false statement because there was no contract between him and True News. I'm the CEO. Nobody else signs contracts. It was that man that the Lindell security team was watching closely. Now, for the record, the man in question that Edward took into the meeting has been arrested at least 7 times over recent years. Now, more information came to me this morning, and I made the decision to end Mr. Zoll's employment relationship with our church. And this is the only statement I will make about the incident.
And a limited hangout, like tokenism, will kill us all if you don't start refusing the limited hangout, the controlled release. These things are handled quietly. When you have Mary Silva and Lee doing this incredible work, no one's heard of them. Imagine Mary Silva. You don't want to talk to me? That's fine. Talk to Mary Silva. She's a very nice Libran lady. And she talks but no one wants to interview her. Not a fucking soul. No, literally nobody. A couple of crazy people try. That's not normal, but it is normal in the Patrick Berge Shadowgate world. Thank you, Patrick Berge.
Assets can be journalists. It could be an entire news organization. It could be a podcast. It could be just an individual YouTube influencer. It could be anybody like that. And you would either build them from scratch or contract them out. Just bring them online.
According to Berge, the 2012 changes to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012 opened the floodgates for domestic IIA, social media influence operations.
Do you think that some of these smart devices were created in order to gain access to the public by the military-industrial complex?
I know that the iPhone really was released within this, if not the same month, of the IIA policy letter, right? I know for a fact, and you can easily look it up, that the Smith-Mundt Act, Modernization Act, was modified to allow for the influence, dissemination of propaganda to Americans, which had previously been restricted or prevented by the Smith-Mundt Act in the late 40s when it was put into place. When they modernized that, they took away those protections.
So as long as we sit here, we're in deep trouble, and these are delaying actions as they get the infrastructure put in. And they're now negotiating, instead of the US just taking over the planet, spreading the revolution, using its incredible $1 trillion military. Well, really, it's $800 billion because Israel's still thieving $200 billion out of it every year. See, that's another thing, the Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're not funding Israel $3.5 billion. That's nothing. Marjorie, tell us about the Department of Defense budgets. Tell us about the thieving of $5 trillion from Wall Street and all their friends on Wall Street. Unit 8200 graduates aren't just in electronic warfare and coding. You do realize the lawyers on Wall Street, they have penetrated every level. We're going about the Ashkenazis, the court Jews of Europe, and they're mixing with the 13 elite families of Europe. How they use the foundation system of funding to penetrate into countries like the Gates Foundation and the Clintons. But it's all floods back to the City of London and the Rothschilds. That's the simple version. But you also have the Sephardic and the Spanish Jews, who are the worst, the most racist and virulent of them all. The Sephardic, Spanish and Portuguese Jews. They are the freaking worst, the most racist. They ran the damn slave trade. Professor Tony Martin explains they're all Portuguese, Spanish Jews. And the oldest synagogues in America are Portuguese. Very old families. You never hear about them, just the blonde-haired, blue-eyed devils from Russia because they stand out. But you go up to Antwerp and the ports of Rotterdam, up there in the Netherlands, right, where all the cocaine floods in. Who does all the port security? Israeli Shin Bet Company. Started out as Atwell Security, then it became ICTS. They did the World Trade Center security. Sorry, they did all the airport security all over the world, including on 9/11. They do all the shipping and port security. They do all the databases for the Human Resource Department, the tracking of the shipping containers. They do shipping conversions. Israeli aerospace industry started by Amit Yoran and his brother and his father. And Amit Yoran was sheep-dipped into the West Point, into the US Army, with his heavy Israeli accent. And he was running all those computers on 9/11. He ran the Department of Homeland Security, Pentagon computers. Amit Yoran, suddenly he's dead. They all seem to die all at once. They're not dead. They've all been disappeared. They were sitting very quiet somewhere. So you see all these linkages and the cocaine trade. And that's why Trump's over there outside Colombia and Venezuela is threatening the EU to cut off all their drugs and their illicit drug supply and their illicit drug money laundering. And right there in Antwerp is what? All the Sephardic Jews who ran the slave trade and their diamond trade and the diamond drug smuggling, drug money laundering trade. All up there in the Netherlands. What's right there in the Netherlands? ASML. You can't build a chip without ASML. Forget Taiwan Semiconductor. ASML make the machines that build the chips over there in Taiwan and in the US. But they're in the fucking Netherlands? I'm sorry? I thought it was a national security issue. So Kissinger managed to ship in the late 80s? But not just ASML, in Belgium, right there is IMEC. You've never heard of them. I didn't hear of them until a month ago. And they are the top research and design. Not the United States. Belgium and the Netherlands, right next to all these Israeli Shin Bet companies. How interesting. Voiceover coming. And we see the intersection. We see the former 2IC of the NSA, Ann Neuberger, a piece of garbage, wig-wearing Hasidic Jewess, the most lunatic. She was hated in the NSA. Of course she is. She's an elitist supremacist Jewess, the vilest kind, highest levels of the government. We talk about Kash Patel's girlfriend. What a distraction. Forget him. He's a freaking nobody, and she's a nobody. But we're not talking about Ann Neuberger. And Ann Neuberger, I'm telling you, is one of thousands. And they're inside the United States. And I want to remind you that I was warned by Israeli Jews, American and Australian, both definitely graduates of Unit 8200, back in 2005 about this. And the Israeli press is #1 in warning. Where's the American press? I've got to get it all from the Israeli press. Isn't that amazing? Ladies and gentlemen, this is just the beginning of something so huge. It's going to come out, but the reason the US can't just take over using its incredible military, its control of all the Straits of Malacca, the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, it can't do it. You know why it can't? Because the nuke is within the critical infrastructure. It's all Israeli City of London, all of it. And then the intelligence community, the John Brennans of the world, the Haydens of the world, the Michael Haydens have to explain, how is it on your watch? And they hate Israel. This is what's amazing. Cheney hated Israel. Project for the New American Century, Oda Genome Plan, the battle for Eurasia. Cheney hated Israel. So did, they hated Kissinger. So did good old, what's-his-face, Rumsfeld. That whole crew hated them. And yet they got suckered into the battle for Eurasia where they could go in, smash the place to pieces, and then the EU could step in with their friend Russia and China, or the EU bank. Oh my God, those Americans are so terrible. Oh, but you can go now. Multipolar world order, here we come. And we've got a version of it coming now. Why do we still have a version of the multipolar or the new tripolar world order? Why? Why? Because US elites are so filthy and have behaved so criminally negligent at best and are completely freaking compromised at worst. They're simply compromised not by pedophilia, not by Jeffrey Epstein. They're compromised by the IRS. They're compromised by the old special executive service that runs this deep state apparatus. The IRS alone will get them in jail for a lifetime, all their dirty deals they've been doing. And so instead of just taking over the damn world and spreading the revolution, so Africans can be proud again and say, we'll name our kids George Washington and Abraham Lincoln like they used to do in the 50s as they were going, yes, America will free us. And now everyone says, fuck America, give us the EU, give us China, give us Russia, give us anything but these fucking demonic Americans, because you are run by demons at the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Atlantic Council, the Rockefeller Foundation, all the Cecil Rhodes history and the roundtable groups and the banking from these elite effer EU effers, Eurofags all the way over there in Europe. And then until America realizes your problems are within the gates, the barbarians are inside. And I'm not talking about the Mexicans. They wear fucking suits and they're not just multi-generational Jewish illegals, plants for the last freaking 100 years. It's not just them. It's the goy rats. Whenever they get a whiff of the cash from the Jewish bankers, voila. And they're the ones I want, the little goy rats. Ben Shapiro is an ideologue. The money is incidental. That's the means to the end. But the filthy goy rats who sell out their own, they get a little whiff of cash. Oh man, the camps are waiting for you. And when we finally realize the barbarians are inside the gates, Fauci ain't in jail. Nobody's going to jail. No Wall Street bankers. Ann Neuberger's not in jail. Where's all the new security clearances that have got to be done? Just remember, as Israelis that warned me about Israeli citizens, dual nationals, back in 2005. And the best reporting continues to come out by the Israeli press. The long relationship between Netanyahu, Russia, and China. Thank you, Lee Levino. Thank you, Mary Silva. So sure, we've got this little video. Not you again. We've got a little video. Rothschilds. Okay. It's a long way to go. You cannot loosen up. You cannot stop. You cannot be happy. Keep fighting whatever way you can. Send me millions of dollars. I still haven't got my Mavic 4 Pro Creator Pack. Send links. Do whatever you can. But nothing beats simply Lee's flyers, which you can still download with QR codes. And lots of people have been using those. So the revolution will not be televised. And good people right now, their kids are getting into the military and have just graduated. They're getting into West Point. They're getting into policing. They are seeing their local members of parliament and their congressional candidates, and they're serving congressmen and congresswomen. They are the ones that are changing things. Local security companies, former JSOC, SOCOM, people who are running, not the Green Beret drama queens with their selling coffee mugs and T-shirts, have been quietly going around, former Navy SEALs with, very interesting companies that deal with retired generals and all that. They've been sending around. I was getting calls on WhatsApp from Joint Special Operations Command people hanging out as the Ospreys flew in. They were handing out thumb drives filled with my videos. And that is where the changes come from. And it's got nothing to do with that fraud Whitney Webb with her CIA case officer daddy, Richard Webb IV in Sarasota, Florida, who's laundering drug money with his real estate companies as a lawyer, legal in real estate. It's not going to come from fucking her. It's going to come from people who've had their bones broken, they've been bleeding, and the little quiet achievers who've been going around into the background. Remember Tammy going to see her New York rep? A lot of people have gone. They ambushed that piece of shit, Linda Sarsour, the mod squad. Israel, boo, 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 boo. Oh, here's some stuff on Israel with the complete penetration of US critical infrastructure. Zip, nada, nothing, finny, not a word to say. And they were all ambushed on this subject. Nothing. Me and Sufyan killed ourselves going to Lebanon, taking all that material. Professor Joachim, yeah, you're probably right. Oh, you can see it. What can I do about it? I'm one guy. Well, he's got his dacha in Cuba, hasn't he? And we smoked a Cuban cigar and they taste like shit. All cigars taste like shit. The media seemed to be too caught up in telling the stories how she survived this bomb and that, and I was going, I looked at Sufyan looked at me and he just went, well, we tried. Because there's too much money in the drugs, in the death and the blood and the weapon sales and the drug trafficking out of the Bekaa Valley. As an Israeli Jew said to me many years ago, Brendon, you want to see a Jew and an Arab make peace? Stick a kilo of fucking cocaine between them and watch them do a deal. Everyone's involved in the drug trafficking, from the Lebanese Muslims, allegedly Muslim, and the Catholics out of Sydney, are dealing with Chabad Lubavitch and the Jews doing that diamond trade. Diamonds up their ass, diamonds in their vaginas, running backwards and forwards, because that's how you launder the money. And the Jews are all the middlemen. And they're over there in fucking Dubai, hanging out with Andrew Tate, who are beating women, prostitutes, and every form of depravity known to man, and they're all over the fucking internet. Fancy that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got to get back to this voiceover. We'll talk again soon.